Hello everybody, welcome to Indigo Tarot Odyssey and more with the beautiful Fairy Wisdom Oracle. And these are some of my favorites. I love the Tattoo Fairy. I feel like that's the colors, the browns, the blues, that gets me super inspired to make jewelry pieces in, like, say, a lovely light blue agate and some tiger eye. Just love the color combination right there. We got the Always card. I'm excited to see what that's about. But let's start with the Tattoo Fairy, because this card speaks of allowing others and yourself free expression. One person's kind of is another person's ah. So be careful of labeling others and yourself. I talked about this the other day after watching Therapy in a Nutshell. Think of your body and the difference that you feel with this statement, these two statements, how different they really are. Say you have a young daughter and you say, are you being a bad girl? The label that kind of just smacks across her chest, right? As opposed to, are you making a bad decision? I just woke up and it just hit me like a ton of bricks how different that actually is. With one statement, you're telling somebody all around, you're asking somebody or telling somebody they are a bad person, which is crazy, right? And we always hear all these labels when we're young, whatever it is. Oh, you're lazy, you're clumsy, you're whatever. And people carry that into adulthood because they hear it so often. So instead of labeling, how about it's a behavior, it's an observance. Is this a bad decision? Am I being, lethargic instead of I am lazy? Whatever it is a behavior in a moment. It is not a condition or who you are. So I love that the book talks about that. Really be careful. We don't need any labels of any sort, because too often we assume if a person does this or that, then they must be a certain way, right? We don't give them the benefit of the doubt or the chance to show who they really are. Just say a man showed up and he was covered head to toe, neck tattoos, face tattoos, wearing black leather, spiked rings, shaved head. But we'll take all symbols off. We're not going to have crazy symbols on him, would identify him as some kind of villainous character. But just that big, imposing body. You wouldn't think, oh, this guy's like the Tooth Fairy or something in a play. It's like a lot of labels would be instantly plastered all over this person. And add any ethnicity and another label would be put on them, right? Like, oh, that person's in Yakuza or whatever, gangs, all of this stuff that happens just by. Also, weirdly enough, tattoos. You hear a lot of labeling going on with tattoos in general, right? And when we label ourselves or others, we limit possibilities. We limit our ways of expression by cramming ourselves into a mold. So be open to all that you are and you can be. Others deserve the same respect, and welcome the diversity around you. Creative expression is a very personal thing. How we dress, how we represent our hair, our nails, latest fads, all of that. Find out who you really are and just be that person. Who you are is more than good enough. This card also speaks of symbols. So look for symbols in your life and see how they manifest. What are they trying to tell you? Is there a symbol that has great meaning to you, so much that you wish to wear it on your body, or a tattoo or a piece of jewelry? If so, it carries a message for you to decipher. I know lately I'm definitely into wearing runes, and especially ones that are protective and calming and of good fortune. I'm really, really drawn to those right now and inspired to make jewelry pieces of that. So I love that. I feel like that card is so magical and special and very, very true. And also another thing that was kind of kicking around in my head is, again, when we have labels, what if somewhere along the way, a few bad things have happened and all of a sudden you think you have bad luck? And a lot of people do this, or they think they're receiving the eagle eye, and or they fall into that victim category of, oh, the world is doing this to me, people are doing this to me. We have to be very careful of that as well, because nobody is intentionally doing stuff pretty much to us. They are just doing it, and it's how we filter it and how it pertains to us. Me, if anybody is acting up or just being spiteful or whatever, I try to employ some sympathy and empathy. But if it's just, run ragged and it's very selfish or whatever, somebody is super in the poor me's all the time, I just have a healthy detachment. I'm like, they'll work through it. I be as helpful as I can if it's a family member or whomever or a friend. And then as they work through that and they see through a clearer lens, I am now not over emotional in any way, shape, or form because I had a healthy detachment from it. Again, it's happening around us, not to us, unless we jump into that tidal pool, which I love. Now, I love this card always. I feel like it's so romantic. I love these fairies. I love that fairy gown and the beautiful wings. In fact, this looks like a lot of leaves outside right now. That crackling gray green, it's so beautiful. And this card speaks of family. And to truly understand life, we have to understand that we have always been and always will be part of divine source. That's part of the universe. You know, that as the physical body passes from existence, the energy in our body survives. Our soul energy survives. And then it joins with spirit. And our connection to divine spirit is never severed. You're never alone. You're always connected to source. You are the vehicle through which divine spirit manifests here. And when we understand our divinity and our importance of this journey on earth, we appreciate that every other being on earth is equally important in this divine plan, which I love. And it brings us back to this. We don't need to label or separate. We are all part of this. I think when we have awareness, calm, and grounded energy, that comes up even faster. We notice that. We see more similarities than differences. We see from the perspective of the person, especially if they're in pain, because again, painful people sometimes create pain in other people's lives, but when we try to find the origin of that and truly listen, because so many people feel unheard, when we truly listen and we show up for them, it just dissipates and dissolves. It is really important that we avail ourselves to others if we have the capacity, and we also have the bandwidth with it to sometimes just let somebody unburden themselves. Not if it's a constant thing, like they agony on you, but say, hey, listen, I have the bandwidth to listen to you. If you have anything that you want to share, how are you really? Like, I love that. How are you really? Because people usually tell you what they think you want to hear on the first go round. Like, how are you? They'll go, oh, fine. And then if you just stop and look at them and you're in a private area or on the phone or whatever, no, how are you really? I have the space and time to truly listen to whatever is happening in your life. And I really want to hear, honestly, how are you? And I love that because I feel like my offspring have that capacity. They do that. Like, oh no, I read something on your face or a tenseness. And it's lovely because it means somebody's really caring enough to take a moment to hear the truth of what's going on. I love it. Removing the fluff and really seeing, the true kind of the true resonance of what's taking place in someone's life and really caring and taking the time. I just love that so much, which brings us to Beloved. I love this card so much. It's so joyful. That baby fairy in his socks just crack me up to no end. Speaking of that, I started laughing as soon as Ian told me about his details of his bike ride today. I guess he had a puncture and then he had another puncture directly after. And I am not going to be on a bike and have anything go wrong. I will throw the bike in the ocean. I'll call the Coast Guard. I'll call the French Foreign Legion. I will call a helicopter to bring me to Florida. I'll need 6 months off. Like, I do not like any kind of sporting snafus where your bike feels out of control. He just so handles it. He's like, oh yeah, I just pulled over, I put in, and then I put in another one, and then I did this, and I'm like, there would be no more biking ever in the history of mankind in my life. And he's just like, oh yeah, and he was happily planning tomorrow's thing, which I love. It made me think of this. I was like, man, I love somebody that can just freaking get that Capricorn energy and just keep climbing that mountain. I tell you what, I adore that kind of energy, and I'm just blown over by it. And it helps fortify certain things in my life when I see that tenacity. I just thought it was so great. And this card is about adoration and what we adore in others and family members and friends, and all their capacities and the cool things they do, and knowing that we can always call on them and they will come to us. People that have passed on too. I feel like the majority, I've had crazy things happening all over my house, like at Christmas time. Literally Marks and Spencer, which is me and my mother's initials, M&S, Melanie and Susan, just flipped, did like a full flip and landed right on the living room floor off the shelf. And it is laying flat on a shelf. It's not even peeking over the edge. And then the other night, the same thing on the microwave. This thing I knew it, I could feel it, so I moved out of the way, and it was just this bag of like chips, and it just landed like right in front of me, and I felt it was, pay attention to me and think of Christmases past with us and our family. And it was just one of those things that the angels and the elementals are all around, and they're paying attention, and they really are here to help us fulfill our destinies and remind us to take care of ourselves as well, which I love. And to remember, We unnecessarily pressurize ourselves all the time in strange arenas, and there's really no reason for it. If we take a breath and we ask ourselves, what do I want to do right now? It's going to make me feel good. What's going to make me feel happy? What's going to make me feel alive? And all of this. And for me, it's like going out in nature in a couple minutes. I'm totally stoked for that. And then I can feel my vibration change, and I start to work towards that, and I'm already doing the little steps in my head. Okay, I have my shoes here, I have my jacket here, I'm excited, all of that. So do that for yourself today. Use the elementals and all this beautiful individual. I love this too. Individually, what will make you happy, not what you think should or not what others are doing, but you. Like, how do you want to express yourself? Like today, I think I might go in for a pretty funky haircut because I have time. So I'm excited. Things like that. Express yourself. This also reminds me of like henna tattoos. Whenever I see this, it's like I always crave henna tattoos as well. Just beautiful little ways to adorn yourself. Yeah, I absolutely love it. So my beauties, that is what you are meant to hear today. I hope you all have a great day, and love and light.